There is a lot of casual and hardcore topics within the gaming industry that are always being debated. I would consider something casual like what is the best gaming franchise or the funnest online experience, whereas the more tough topics, the more strictly debated stuff is like which companies are the most predatory, and the hottest topic of all is Xbox Game Pass bad for gaming in the long run. What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here. Now, the reason I want to talk about this is because, honestly, this is a topic that fascinates me. Microsoft has been buying up pretty much every studio with a price tag. If it is possible to buy them, they've at least humored the idea of trying to purchase everybody from Square Enix to Capcom to Bungie. I mean, there is a lot of stuff that rumored has been talked about being bought by Microsoft. Well, what's interesting is that currently, of course, they are finalizing what will hopefully be the $69 billion acquisition of Activision. Well, in a court document released today, Microsoft has admitted that Xbox Game Pass hurts overall game sales. But I want to take a look at their official wording of it. So this is over on gamesindustry.biz, and it says, Microsoft confirms the Xbox Game Pass cannibalization. Okay, so one of the biggest weirdness of this is that this goes completely against what Microsoft themselves has claimed. Scrolling down a bit here. Right now, currently, the Xbox-Activision deal is very much being heavily scrutinized by the UK Competition and Market Authority Provision, also known as the CMA. They're currently trying to figure out if this deal will actually damage the gaming industry. You know, I mean, it's pretty obvious that there's a multi-billion-dollar impact to buying Call of Duty. But what's interesting is that Microsoft has submitted its internal analysis and shows that they're not allowed to legally say what it is, but there is actually a decline in game sales 12 months following their addition to Game Pass. Now, the reason this is just so fascinating is because it's completely the opposite of Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox, actually claimed himself. He has said, like, this is his own official statement from back in 2018. Game Pass leads to more game sales. Xbox Game Pass actually leads to very healthy environments for our games, such as State of Decay 2 and Horizon 4. Now, inside of this article, he basically pitches the idea that if you are constantly playing on Xbox, if you have Xbox Game Pass, if you're logging in every day, if you're beating bosses, if you're unlocking achievements, you're seemingly more interested in just trying to get the next big experience. You're more likely to purchase a game that maybe later on you would have waited to play or something like that. Whereas these new legal documents actually seem to say the opposite. I mean, this is pretty much just saying that where originally he said Game Pass is great because people are willing to spend $10 to try a game out, whereas now it's actually saying Game Pass severely cannibalizes the buy-to-play sales, particular in the case of newer releases. Now, why does this matter? You may be sitting here and going, okay, Dreamcast Guy, we are now 3 minutes into the video itself, maybe 4 minutes into the video itself. What is it about this that's a particularly big issue? If you already have Game Pass, if you are already buying a bunch of new releases, clearly this doesn't really affect much. Well, here's the deal. A lot of people are actually a bit nervous about the long-term effects of Game Pass on the industry itself. Now, personally, I'm not particularly concerned, but take something like Square Enix and something specifically like Octopath Traveler. Now, the first game, the original Octopath Traveler, in my opinion, is a freaking masterpiece. I bought it on Nintendo Switch, I have it on Steam, and of course, I played it on the Xbox. It was on Game Pass, so why would you not play it? Whereas, as you can tell, Octopath Traveler 2 is only on the PlayStation Store, it's on Steam, and it's not on Xbox. It's only on Nintendo, PlayStation, and Steam. So people have started to ruminate. They've begun to theorize, something is going on. It does seem like Game Pass does pay developers. This is not some sort of controversial opinion. It is well known that the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of games that come to Game Pass every single year, when you get approached before launch, a lot of times Microsoft just says, okay, how big of a check do we need to write you in order to get this on the service? This goes for big games, this goes for indie games. Stuff comes to Game Pass constantly. But it does seem like if your franchise is scooped up on Game Pass, what if that paycheck isn't big enough to get the franchise to continue onward? I mean, that's kind of the long-term conundrum of the Game Pass solution, is that what happens when Microsoft stops paying you? If you get one game that's bought and put on Game Pass, it doesn't seem like they keep paying you residuals over time. If 70 million people, just to throw a like ridiculously big number, if 70 million people played your game on Game Pass, that does not even equal a fraction of the amount of if 1 million people had probably actually bought your game for full price at launch, which means it will theoretically end up hurting the sales in the future. It will hurt the future of that franchise. Like in this case, Octopath Traveler. I mean, it's pretty clear, just assumedly, nobody bought the game on Xbox at all. I mean, it seems like people probably played it a bit on Game Pass. Square Enix took that Game Pass paycheck, but I mean, it must have bombed so freaking hard, they're not even going to bother porting a completed game. So what happens if you made something exclusively for Game Pass? Say you are a big AAA studio and you tried to make something just to drop on there for that Microsoft paycheck, but you're not getting bought by Microsoft. What if you are just a third-party studio making exclusive content for it? If your costs are too high, if that paycheck was not lucrative enough, that could lead to the failure of your series just because, I mean, in a way, Game Pass wasn't big enough. I mean, a lot of people are kind of pushing back against this, like people being less likely to buy something that's on a subscription service, whoop-de-doo. Isn't that the point? People subscribe to Game Pass because it's a hell of a lot better than paying $70 for each game. Honestly, I've probably spent more on Game Pass than I would have on individual games, and I figured that I'm in the majority too. This is actually a great point. I think this is what Microsoft wants. Microsoft wants everybody to be on Game Pass, whether it is on Steam or whether it is on the Xbox Series X like I am. They want to make sure that everybody has Game Pass to experience that next game exclusively on their platform, even if it exists on other consoles. But this is the thing. This is showing how subscription services, when it comes to the movie industry and the music industry, has severely cannibalized the sales of albums and Blu-rays. There is a lot of data. This is actually incredibly well researched. This is not a hyperbolic statement. There is a ton of movies now that completely fail because of streaming services. I mean, it's very difficult to even get people to buy a CD these days. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't even know, do cars come with CD players anymore? No, probably not, because everybody is just going to listen to a song on Pandora or Spotify. And when you stream a song, it pays the artist a fraction of a penny. What happens when this becomes applicable to the video game industry? What happens if you make a game and you're broke and you need that paycheck before the game comes out and Microsoft buys it up? I mean, this is the kind of stuff that in the long run is going to enter, and look at this, video games are in the process of entering subscription hell, at least on the console side. Yep, man. It's crazy to see this because after Microsoft claimed that Game Pass was increasing game sales, a lot of people just didn't believe it. Of course, people assume that stuff like DLC probably sold better, but really, how is it that giving away a game for so cheap would lead to more people buying expensive games? A lot of people seem to be very upset by this statement, saying like, okay, this doesn't matter. The people are paid. If you take the money, then you better accept it. Look at this. Things were also very different. Right now we are in a recession, so maybe lower game sales is just that context that matters. This is just, I find it very weird that Game Pass is going to exist in this format for a while longer. I think that Microsoft is going to still be the king for a bit with this subscription service. I guess in the next 5 years, I think everything is very set in stone. I truly believe as a Game Pass subscriber that as it currently exists, Microsoft is willing to lose money to have the best service in gaming. Game Pass is a fantastic deal. In fact, even this morning, I'm playing a bunch of Wild Hearts on my Xbox for a video tomorrow. It's like a extra Japanese version of Monster Hunter. But what happens in 5 years? What happens when these paychecks get smaller? What happens when the word spreads that, hey, if you accept that big, giant Microsoft paycheck, it's all the money you're ever going to get for your game? I mean, that kind of branding, that kind of conversation might end up hurting the industry. For indie games, I still think Game Pass is a massive, massive, massive W. I think when it comes to encouraging weird, random spin-offs and stuff, Microsoft is doing a great service for the entirety of gamers. But when it comes to big AAA stuff, that is where I feel like the big question mark exists. But I don't know. That's why this is a debate. It's not set in stone. This is just me sort of spitballing it with the data we now have. What do you guys think about this? Are you excited about the future of Xbox? Are you concerned about the Activision Blizzard deal? Or are you Team PlayStation or Team Nintendo Switch? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a big old thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. And please keep dreaming. Oh yeah, I played baseball yesterday and I hit a home run. I feel so cool. I don't know how to play. I just smacked the hell out of a ball.